Alright, Brent, Central Arkansas. I'm going to show you how I propagate fig cuttings. I've tried lots of different ways, from water to, you could probably see these cups back here. And I really like these cups because you can see the roots, but they take up a lot more space. If I use one of these, this is a 32 cell tray insert with these little 2.5 inch by 2.5 by 3.5 inch tall cups here that fit in it, so I can remove them and use them individually. The first thing I do is I get a mix, and this mix is particularly 1/3 peat, 1/3 aged rice hulls, and 1/3 perlite. Sometimes a little less perlite depending on how much I have around. So I take that mix and I put it in, I fill it in these little creamer containers here because these are great containers to reuse. And I just put the mix in here, and then I microwave 3 at a time at 3-minute intervals for 9 minutes total. It makes sure that it kills off any disease or bugs, especially fungus gnats, which are really annoying. So I do that, and then what I do simply is I put the mix in here on these little 10-10 trays. I'm using the 10-10 for size, and once I have that in, I just grab one of these and I fill it to the top very loosely. I don't pack it in, and then I put it in this tray here, the insert. Now, as you can see, there's some little wicks here, and this is, I did a video on this on my gardening channel, and the wicks are underneath here. Let me see if I can show it. Yeah, you can see them here, and they sit down in some water here, and what that does is it wets the wick all along here, and the wick, because of the way it's pinched, make sure that each individual container here is individually kept to a near perfect moisture level. So I don't have to ever monitor the moisture in this at all. Now when I'm done, I'm going to put a dome on it, but I don't have to ever monitor the moisture in here. I just keep some water in the bottom there. And so I just have to check it every few days to make sure that there's water, and I'll know that the figs get the appropriate amount of moisture. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill these up just like I showed you one here. I'll do one more. And I've got some cuttings that I'm going to put in here too, so I'll show you that in just a minute if you stay tuned. I got to fill these up first and turn on the waxer that melts the wax. Anyway, I'll show you all that. Well, this is a tray I did. It's hard to tell exactly when I did it, but I'm guessing about 3 weeks to a month ago. And I just wanted to show you what I was talking about with the wicking. You can see the wick down there. So this is the exact same setup, and I started this for seedlings on vegetable seedlings, and so it works so perfectly. I figured, man, I got to do that for figs too, so I don't have to stress about them, because as some of you know, figs aren't always the easiest to propagate. This tray looks pretty darn good. Most all of them in here are looking good. I can't say that they're going to all, you know, come out successful just yet because I haven't up potted them, but I can tell you that Texas peach, I've got 3 little ones here, just kinda is, you know, not caring for it too much. Well, I had raised the dome using these little separators here just a little bit to let in some to get rid of some of the humidity, to lower the humidity level. by raising the dome a little bit and opening the little tops of the dome. And so at that point, the leaves kind of started going back on that, thinking that it's a little too soon and that the roots have not developed. Now it's still got a green tip, so hopefully that'll work. But I've got all kinds of figs in here. I'll go over some. This is Pontressa, BB10, Dan's BB10. There's a version out there that doesn't look like Dan's BB10 that some people call BB10. I've got that also, called BB10 Not. Delphine Wami Gran. It's not leafing out yet, but I can see the buds expanding. I got a Vertolino, a Maversica, a Planera, Bass's Favorite, Cessac. We got over there Moscatel Prado, Galicia Negra, Cherry Cordial, Violet de Célèze, Ondata, another Ondata, and then the Texas Peach I talked about, Dalmati, and Bergen Unknown, and last but not least, De La Caseta. So yeah, this is just one. It's got 32 in there, and it looks like hopefully they'll do fine for me. But the point of this is I got a moisture meter in here, and I wanted to show you that. I put it in there. It's been sitting for a couple minutes, so the moisture will even out and the dye will solidify at whatever the moisture level is, and it is absolutely perfectly in the middle. It is in the middle of moist. In the blue on the right side of moist is wet, and the left on the side of moist is dry, and I mean it is absolutely dead center. So yes, I've never watered on top except for once when I put some anti-gnat solution that I poured on with my jug here some time back, but I always just add water into the bottom. And let's see what the water level is in there now. These are heavy because they're all okay. You can see some moisture in there probably. I'm gonna need to add some more in a day or two, but yep, that's it. I just wanted you to see kind of, I wouldn't call it the outcome yet, the final outcome, but this is a progression from this to this. And the next thing I need to do is show you how I prepare the fig cuttings and insert into the trays. One of the things I did want to say is that, as I mentioned, I'm not sure how old the last tray was when I put them in here, but now I'm adding a day, because what I want to do is just get a general idea of how long it is before I up pot these. To where the roots are nice and solid so that I can up pot to the next level. So if I get into this habit of putting the date that I put them in the tray, that should give me an idea. I'm thinking maybe 6 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, which is perfect. It's not a big deal over the winter. Got a lot of months in here. It's mid-December and I've still got till April to up pot these. I have this container here. This is my fig priming container. It's just a longer container that'll hold almost all figs that could possibly be shipped. Every single one I've ever received is shorter than this length, and the depth and all that will allow for a lot of cuttings, which is going to be helpful with this. I got a bulk shipment of very, very nice cuttings from, well, I'm not going to tell you who from. I don't want to do that kind of thing, but very nice cuttings of Atriana Gold. And I'm going to put these in here in front of you. And what I'm going to do is prime these. My background is microgreens. I'm very good at hydroponic microgreens. I've got many years of experience with it. But with figs, not a whole lot. I'm coming up on about a year now. But but you can see there's a bunch in there. So I've got a gallon here of water that I got out of my barrels that's been house water that's been, I guess you call it, off-gassed for a long period of time. So I'm going to fill this up where it covers it. And all I'm going to do is soak this for a number of hours. Looks like they're starting to float now. I'll go ahead and finish off this gallon. And you can see there's some above it now because they float. So what I do to alleviate that is I put a paper towel or two over them. That way the paper towel absorbs the water, and the top of the figs that would be above the water line are now covered. And so I'm going to put the lid on this. Don't really need to, but just to prevent spillage. And I'm going to put that aside for a few hours. I'm taking them out of there, and I've put them leaned up here so they'll air dry here. I'll come back probably about an hour or so. This is what I'm going to do with the sticks. I'm going to orient the bud up. I wrote already an A on there for Adriano Gold, and I know the buds are pointing this direction. This is up, in other words. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dip it in the wax, and we're going to coat the end. Now it's already calloused from where they came from. This is dip and grow. I'm going to dip the other end in dip and grow for 5 seconds-ish. Take it out and put it there. I'll do one more just to show you. This is a long baby here. Dip it in there. And I'm going to do all of them just like that. I was preparing my rootstock, and this is Adriano Gold that I'm using as rootstock, and I also wanted to grow it. So this will be a different video, but this is the 3, and I put Adriano on painter's tape because it's easy to remove. It's a lot cheaper and easier to work with than putting a label on each one, which is what I did originally. So it's a really simple process. I pack these loosely, so I just stick it down in, and I've already put the rooting hormone on it, and so I just stick it in. It's loose. Stick it into the very bottom. I pack it with my finger. Now I'm going to throw some more on top of that. Where's the other one? Here we go. There we go, just like that. And these are going to be close to too tall. I may end up having to cut them back to make them fit underneath this dome, because the cuttings that they gave me, as you can see here, were really fat. So anyway, yeah, that would mean that I would have to re-wax them if that's the case. I'm going to go ahead and do that, I'm sure. All right, so that's how I do that, and I'll put a little bit more mix in here, and then I'll show you the final, and we'll put a dome on it. There it is, finished. I sprayed the inside of the dome just to immediately raise the humidity level, and put the dome on top. So now I'm going to finish up the rest of this particular tray tomorrow, and I have another one, and I have 2 more actually, for more incoming cuttings. So I've got 3 now that I've done since I made that last bit of video. This is the exact one here. Yeah, I got the 3 Adriano Gold here at the front. I'll open this in just a second. And all the others were done the 23rd, which was about a week later. So I'll show you all of that. But before I forget, I wanted to mention that when I soaked the Adriano rootstock, I did not do the 20:1 bleach solution. And what I do is I use that same container that I soaked the Adriano rootstock in that you saw in the video earlier, and I add 1 cup of bleach and 19 cups of regular water, or the water that comes out of my barrels that's been off-gassed. And so that becomes I call it a 20 to 1, but it's, I can't remember if it was 18 or 19 cups. I think it was 19. So it was 20 cups total. 19 are water, 1's bleach. And then I set a timer on my stove for 30 minutes. I let them sit and soak for 30 minutes. And then after that, I rinse them thoroughly and they're good to go. It works perfectly. There's, in the fig various locations videos, people talk about sanitizing fig cuttings by using a 9-to-1 bleach solution, and that scares me. The only point of sanitizing bleach cutting or fig cuttings is to essentially kill mold. It could be disease on it, but it's not very likely on cuttings. But anyway, yeah, but definitely it'll knock out any mold spores, and it's very effective. It doesn't hurt the plants. I used to do it quite often with microgreens, and those are little seeds that haven't even sprouted yet, and they all sprout great. So there's no harm there if you want to use the 21 bleach I'm talking about. So let me take this off and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's been about 2 weeks since I did the portion of video just before what I'm showing you here, but you can see that the Atrianos are leafing out. This one's taking a little bit longer, but I can see the bud there. Others, like this Smith here, is starting to bud. We got, I think that's Raspberry Latte back there that's starting to leaf. And I'm seeing good buds and that sort of thing. So it's all good. Looks like it's going to work out perfectly, just like the one I showed you with the water meter in it, the meter. And the last little bit is I have them sitting on little heat mats here, and the heat mats are set to 80 degrees, and that's because at nighttime the little heaters in this grow room here are set to cut off at 50 degrees, and 50 degrees is too cold. And so I put them on heat mats because it's chilly at nighttime for many hours, and I don't want the bottom of, I want it to root as fast as possible so the bottom of the fig cuttings don't, roots don't die and the whole thing die, because, you know, spent some money on it. The last thing here is because they're on a heat mat, it generates more humidity. So I've got what I call an air wand in here, and it's just a little piece of PEX that I put in here, and it's got a little valve here, and it goes up to, it goes over to this little aquarium pump. So all I'm doing is pumping in air, and the holes on top are open, so it's pumping in fresh air, and it, whatever I set the timer to here, will control the amount of humidity better. So if it's staying wet too long, if the, you know, you see this much moisture in there too long, then I'll set the timer for longer, so it'll come on automatically. Right now it's set for on 30 minutes, off 10 minutes, and it does that continuously, non-stop. So that's what I have the little timer set to. So it's an air wand. Seems like kind of a detailed setup, doesn't it? But it's an extension of the way I've grown microgreens, and once you kind of get the idea of it all, it's real easy to do and maintain. So anyway, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.